Good day, everyone. Welcome back to V-Class TV. This is Teacher Jackie for English for Quarter 4 Week 1 lessons. For this week, we are going to focus on comprehending literary texts. Here are the objectives that we wish to accomplish this week. Welcome to Day 1. Today we are going to talk about the elements of the story in detail. Let's begin by finding you a partner for the first activity. Find a partner to answer the following questions with. You can write your answer in your notebook. Number 1, what is a story? Number 2, what is your favorite story? Why? Number 3, what makes a good story? And 4, what makes a story interesting and fun to read and hear? Share your answers to the class after the beep. Now let's move on with the story elements: characters, setting, plot, problem, and theme, and how they work together to create a complete and enjoyable story. To review these elements, please do this activity on your notebook. Match the terms on the left with their definitions on the right and write the letter of your answer. We will check your answer after the beep. Now, exchange notebooks and we will check your answer. Now, let's discuss the elements further. From previous stories, recall how the elements work together. Which is your favorite? Why? When you answer this question, you should think about how the elements of the story work together. For example, the characters. Who are the main characters in the story? How can you tell they are important? What are some clues about their personalities or goals? Setting. Where and when does the story take place? Does the setting affect the characters or the events that happened? How? Of course, the plot. What happens in the story? Can you identify the beginning, middle, and end? How are these events connected? Problem. What challenge or obstacle do the characters face in the story? How do they try to overcome it? The theme. What is the main message or lesson learned from the story? Is there something the story wants us to think about? The point of view. Whose eyes are we seeing the story through? Is it someone in the story saying I and me? Or is it someone telling us about the characters from the outside? Let's focus on the plot of the story. The plot is the sequence of events. The plot is tied to the central conflict in a story. The plot develops as the protagonist struggles with their given problem, finds a solution, and eventually accepts the results. Here are the parts of the plot. We are going to divide it into 3 parts. We have the beginning, middle, and the end. In the beginning portion, you are going to find the first part, which is the exposition, the introduction of the characters, setting, and conflict, providing all the necessary background information. It is followed by the conflict, the incident that leads the main character to conflict and begins the plot. Then you have the rising action. The conflict develops and takes on newer, more complicated incidents leading to the climax. Then, of course, you will have the climax. The conflict reaches a peak, which then leads to a change in the course of events, giving the reader a new insight on the events of the story. Then, it will be followed by the falling action. The conflict gets resolved and the action slows down. Then there you go. You will have the ending or the resolution. The conflict ends, leaving the reader fulfilled. Just don't forget, Conflict is closely linked to the theme of a narrative. It motivates the characters and affects the plot. It usually surfaces when the protagonist or the main character faces an obstacle or hardship. Conflict forms the heartbeat of a story, so the story needs to have a defining conflict to impact the reader's mind. The theme is what the children would call the moral of the story. It can be the subject of the story or the main idea that runs through it, or simply the message that is conveyed from the writer to the reader through the short story. This time, we are going to read a story. On your notebook, please take note of the characters, setting, and plot. Pay attention to its conflict and theme too. We have 10 questions at the end of the story. The Lost Cat. Muning, a fluffy orange cat, loved playing and exploring her backyard. One sunny afternoon, her curiosity led her on an adventure. She squeezed under the fence and found herself in a maze of unfamiliar streets. The world was much bigger and louder than her usual stomping ground. Muning felt a pang of fear. She was lost. Meows escaped her throat, a desperate plea for someone to hear her. Meanwhile, Muning's owner Brando realized his furry companion was missing. Panic surged through him. He called her name, searching every nook and cranny in the backyard. When despair began to creep in, a flash of orange fur caught his eye behind a bush. Relief washed over him as he ran towards it, calling Muning's name. Muning, overjoyed at hearing the familiar voice, purred loudly and rubbed against Brando's legs when he scooped her up. Back in her haven, Muning snuggled cheerfully in Brando's arms, feeling safe and loved. The little adventure reminded her that even familiar places could seem scary when one is lost. It was best to stay close to home, or better yet, with her beloved owner. I hope you enjoyed the story. This time, we are going to answer the following comprehension check. This could be answered by group or individually depending on your teacher's instruction. You can open your notes if you need to, answer the task given to you, and present your answer to the class. Welcome to day 2. Today, we are going to learn the wisdom of the geese. Here's an image of geese flying. Geese because there are many in this frame. But if there is only one, you would call it goose. Have you ever seen them flying above? Have you noticed them flying in a formation? Today, we are going to watch the motivational video Wisdom of the Geese. Please take note of the important elements.
Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a difference. It's never about the role, always about the goal. Here's the 7 lessons we can learn from the geese. Number 1, sharing a common goal. As each goose flaps its wings, it creates uplift and aerodynamics orientation that reduces air friction for the birds that follow. By flying in a V formation, the whole flock achieves a 70% greater flying range than if each bird flew alone. Lesson: people who share a common direction and goal can get where they are going quicker and with less effort because they benefit from the momentum of the group moving around them. Make sure your team is aligned towards a common goal. Number 2, increasing visibility. Flying in a V formation increases the visibility as every goose can see what's happening in front of them. The lesson here is to make our organizations visible in both org chart directions. Having top-down visibility enables leaders to stay connected with the edges of the organization to make better informed decisions. Bottom-up visibility enables teams to see the bigger picture, engages them, and empowers them to better align themselves with the organizational objectives. If we have as much sense as a goose, we will stay in formation, joining those heading in the direction we want to go. The sense of community emerges with a willingness to work as a team. Not only is it more efficient, the flock together has better visibility of its surroundings and is more visible as a collective. Number 3, having humility to seek help. When a goose falls out of formation, it suddenly feels the friction of flying alone. It then quickly adjusts its mistake and moves back into the formation to take advantage of the lifting power of the bird immediately in front of it. Lesson: be humble to admit the challenges we face and to seek help as soon as we get stuck. This humility will enable you and your team to move faster and achieve more. If we have the sense of a goose, we will openly and confidently acknowledge when we need help and gratefully accept the support that is offered, and will fly harder to stay up with the flock so we can all go longer distances with ease. Number 4, empowering others to lead. When the lead goose in the front gets tired, it rotates back into the formation and allows another goose to take the leadership position. Lesson: empower others to also lead. Micromanaging and keeping tight control will burn you out. It will also disengage and demotivate others around you. People have unique skills, capabilities, and gifts to offer. Give them autonomy, trust, and a chance to shine, and you will be surprised with the outcomes. Number 5, always recognizing great work. The geese honk to recognize each other and encourage those up front to keep up their speed. Lesson: make sure we praise people and give them the recognition they deserve. Lack of recognition is one of the main reasons team members are unsatisfied at work and quit. It's very common for people's efforts to go unnoticed by their peers in a busy and fast-moving work environment. However, remembering to constantly provide recognition and encouragement is vital, and it keeps teams motivated to achieve their goals. Number 6, offering support in challenging times. When a goose gets sick or wounded, 2 geese drop out of the formation and follow it down to help and protect it. They stay with it until it dies or is able to fly again. Then, they launch out with another formation or catch up with the flock. Lesson: standing by each other in difficult times. It's easy to always be part of winning teams, but when things get difficult and people are facing challenges, that's when your teammates need you the most. If we have the sense of a goose, we will stand by each other when things get rough, and we will willingly take the support and guidance that's an offer. Number 7, staying committed to core values.
From the video clip that you just watched, answer the following questions. What life lessons can you get from the geese? Why would the author want you to know the wisdom of the geese? Which of the lesson is your favorite? Why? At this juncture, we are going to focus on speaker's point of view. Point of view is the writer's way of deciding who is telling the story to whom. Establishing a clear point of view is important because it dictates how your reader will interpret characters, events, and other important details. In the first-person point of view, the reader accesses the story through one person. It's like reading the main character's diary. The reader will notice pronouns like I, me, my, we, us, or our in the first-person writing. Second-person point of view uses the pronoun you. This point of view establishes the reader as the protagonist or main character. It is the most difficult point of view to maintain in a longer piece of creative writing. As a writer, the goal is to make the reader be engrossed, engaged, enthralled, and involved. In the third-person point of view, the narrator has the ability to know everything. You'll see the pronouns he, his, she, her, they, them, their, and it or its in third person point of view. Let's now proceed to this performance task. Role playing by group. Make a short story with a goose or geese as the characters. The story should be transposed in three POVs or point of views: first person, second person, and third person. Act out your short story to the class. The presentation date and time shall be discussed by your teacher. Welcome to day 3 and 4. This time, we are going to go deeper with the elements of the story. This time, we are going to read a summary of a story. On your notebook, please take note of the characters, setting, and plot. Pay attention to how the summary is presented. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Summary by C.S. Lewis. During World War II, the Pevensie siblings, Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy, find themselves uprooted from their London home and sent to live with the eccentric Professor Kirk in the countryside. Little do they know, a magical wardrobe awaits them, holding the key to a fantastical world. Thrust into Narnia, a land trapped in perpetual winter by the White Witch's curse. Lucy stumbles upon the first sign of trouble when a kind faun named Tumnus betrays her. Meanwhile, Edmund, lured by the witch's enchanted Turkish delight, makes a terrible choice and joins forces with her, betraying his siblings in the process. The story unfolds from a third-person perspective, allowing us to witness events through the eyes of various characters and understand their motivations. We see the conflict unfold, a battle between good and evil. The White Witch seeks to maintain her iron grip on Narnia through fear and control, while Aslan, a majestic lion representing courage and sacrifice, strives to liberate the land with the help of the Pevensies. Guided by the loyal and wise Mr. Beaver, the siblings eventually meet Aslan. Their journey becomes a test of their courage and character, forcing them to confront themes of loyalty, temptation, the power of belief, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. Though Aslan sacrifices himself, he is miraculously resurrected, leading the children to victory against the White Witch. The Pevensies ascended the thrones of Narnia, experiencing adventures and personal growth as kings and queens. But their time in this magical land is not meant to last. Eventually, they are returned to their own world through the wardrobe, forever changed by their fantastical experiences. Though no time has passed in their world, they carry the lessons learned in Narnia deep within their hearts. Let's now map out the events of the story using the plot diagram below. Please do it on your notebook. Reaching this part is great. Here's another performance task for you to explore, especially if you are part of the journalism team. Narnia newspaper, summarizing and creativity by group. You will need a large sheet of paper, markers, and crayons. First thing that you are going to do is to write a catchy headline summarizing the main events of the story. And then you are going to write a short article about a different aspect of the story and decorate the newspaper with creative drawings to illustrate the articles. If you are into arts and creativity, this task is for you. Ask yourself of the following questions, then create a poster. How does the battle between good and evil in Narnia relate to real-life situations? Think of a problem you face at school or at home. How can you apply the courage and cooperation shown by the Pevensies to solve it? In a bond paper, create a poster depicting the real-world connection inspired by the story. We have a sample picture here. A poster is an informative design printed on a sheet that often contains pictures and is posted in a public place as to promote something. That's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed our lesson on literary texts. If you are interested in the PowerPoint presentation I am using, join our channel by clicking the join button below. For as low as 49 pesos, I will give you access to my quarter 4 slides, plus other perks for members only. Once again, this is Teacher Jackie. Discover, learn, have fun only at V Class TV. Goodbye.